it's Alycia. I am going to don my bunny ears to hold my hair back. I just filmed a video explaining how to do basic eyeshadow, meaning 1, 2, 3, snuck in a fourth one, eyeshadows for an eye look. Now I want to go a step further and show you how I would do an eyeshadow look that has 4, 5, or 6 eyeshadows in it. So I was just showing off this BH Cosmetics Eye Essentials brush kit that was very inexpensive. If I remember correctly, I'll put the price on the screen. But I'm going to just use those eye brushes and show you how I would do a more complicated eyeshadow look. It's not complicated once you practice, but I just mean that there are more colors involved. So I'm going to use colorful eyeshadows so I can reference the anatomical points where I'm putting the eyeshadow by color that I put on. Please understand that this is not meant to be like teaching you how to put on colorful eyeshadows. This is more showing you the position of where I'm going to put each of the colors and how I'm going to blend them together so that you can really see a distinct separation of the colors. But you could do this whole thing with browns. I'm going to do it with maybe this one. This is another ColourPop eyeshadow palette, and this is colorful enough that I think I can segment out the different points where I'm applying eyeshadow and explain why and where and how. I'm going to start by priming my eyelids with the ColourPop No Filter Concealer, and I discussed why I do this in my other video, but it's going to even out a blank canvas for placing the eyeshadows down on top. And I'm just going to use this little itty bitty Ofra highlighter palette for my mirror today. So I will cover my entire lid with the concealer. And I mean that I will go from my eyelashes all the way up to my brow bone, and then coming out at a little bit of an angle here on the outside corner. I go all the way into basically my nose bridge, and I do extend down a little bit toward my under eye area. And this is a very thin coat. I hope you can appreciate that it's not thick or goopy, and I try to pat it all out. If you prefer to set the concealer, meaning to put powder on top of it in a similar color to this, you can. I'm not going to do that today because I don't feel I need to. This is a pretty matte concealer, meaning that it's not reflecting much light. It's not shiny. And so I don't feel like it's wet or that I have to set it down to make the eyeshadows apply on top without skipping. If you do find that your eyeshadows are skipping, it could be the texture of your skin. I tend to have a little bit of skippage, but not a super lot. And it could also be that your concealer is a little bit more wet and tacky, and in that case you might try setting it with a similarly colored powder to make everything smooth. So that would be the base that I would start with. And then I am going to show you placement. So when I do my eyeshadows, I will either start with my crease or I will start with my lid, but the outcome at the end is pretty much the same. So I'm going to show you with my, let's go lid first, and then we'll do crease. So this would be a brush that I would use to put colors on my eyelids. It's dense, but this one is still very soft. It's not the most dense and it's not the most fluffy, so I think it's probably a good beginner type of brush to use. And I'm going to go in, we're going to start with this golden yellow color. And I'm going to take that golden yellow color and I'm going to place it on the inner third of my mobile lid, which is the space below the crease when I look straight ahead. So I'm going to grab some pigment on my brush. I wiggle back and forth occasionally to get more pigmentation on my brush, and that's what it looks like. And then I'm going to apply that with very short little dragging motions on my eyelid. If you look down into your mirror, you can see more of your eyelid. So I'm just putting that right on the inner third of my lid. Okay, so that's that. I'll do this entire eye and then I'll do this entire eye just so you can see. So for the center of my eyelid, I'm going to take this magenta color, and it's got a little bit of micro shimmer in it. Get, again, this much on my brush, and this is going to go on the center of my lid. I'm going to use just short tapping motions. And I know these colors will go together okay because, you know, in between where the two of them mix, I might get a little bit of orange, but definitely not any brown or anything. Okay, so that's where I'll put my second color. I tend to do lightest to darkest, going from inside to out, both in my crease and on my lids. So I'm going to show you next, the next color that I'll put in is going to be this shimmery darker blue. So just going across this row right here, this is going to be the third color I put on my lid. It's still shimmery. You could also use a matte color there. So I'm just going to get that much on my brush, a little hard to see. And I'm going to tap that on my lid on the outside third. So hopefully it'll be easy for you to see once the colors are on here what the thirds of my eyelid are for me personally. So see that? And again, these colors should be just fine mixing together. I should get something a little bit purpley because I've got the blue and pink next to each other. And that's how I would put the three colors on my eyelid. This one I do believe is the brightest, more of a middle tone, and then the darkest of the three. Now, if you look at the edges up here in my crease, they're not smooth, they're not happy, they're not nice. But I'm going to make them smooth and happy and nice by blending with my crease brush. So that would be the more fluffy, not quite as densely packed. Hopefully you can sort of see that the bristles are not super densely packed and it is quite soft. And on in my crease area, I might struggle a little bit to show you colors that really blend appropriately, but what are we going to go for here? 5? Okay, we'll go for 5. So I'm going to take more of a mid-tone color, like this little pinky peachy guy, and get a visible amount on my brush. And I'm going to start on the outside of my crease. Again, crease would be this area here that sort of disappears when I look straight ahead and is my fold area. I'm going to start out here where the blue is, and I'm slowly going to work in toward where the yellow is by doing these light back and forth motions. So I start out here, and then I gradually pull in toward the yellow at the center. Pressure level, again, on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 would be barely touching, not much pressure at all, this is maybe like a 2 or a 3. And I'm just lightly going back and forth. The first place, again, that you put down your eyeshadow brush is going to be where you have the most pigmentation. And as that color gets deposited on your skin, there will be less on your brush for you to take to the adjacent areas. This would be what I would call a transitional crease color because it's not adding a whole lot of depth, but is transitioning the colors on my lid to the nakedness of my brow bone. So hopefully you can see that. And then I'm going to just take one darker color from this peach that I just used. I'm actually going to go into this dark purple, again, just so you can distinguish what colors I've got. And I'm going to try to keep that just on the very end of this brush because I'd like it to be a smaller area. You even see that? Yeah, that's where the pigment is. And I'm going to go right over in that crease and go right where the blue and pink meet that transition color and keep it sort of deeper in that fold. And this time I'm not going to take it all the way over to where the yellow is. I'm just going to keep it above the pink and the blue. So above the outer 2/3 of my eyelid. Okay? I'm going to get a little bit more of that. So hopefully you can see where that's getting blended. Blending is the step that takes the longest when doing eyeshadow. And again, is going to make the biggest difference on whether your eyeshadow looks more profesh or more beginner. Okay, so you can see that there's some of this blue underneath. I take a makeup wipe, and I'll take a clean part of it, and all I do is I'll use my finger and just wipe gently and remove that pigment so that it looks nice and clean. Okay, so that would be how I would put on 5 different eyeshadow colors. I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing on my other eye to show you, again, where I choose for my placement. Remember, the right eye has already been primed with the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. I take the lightest and brightest of the colors. In this case, I'm choosing to use gold. And I pack it on my brush, like so, and I'm going to focus it on the inner 1/3 of my mobile lid, which is the area below that natural crease, and I tappy it in. Tappy, 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 make your eyeshadow happy. Okay. Deposit that color. Take the same brush. I get my next color for the center of my lid, and I still will just tap, 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 and go all the way up to my crease. I will overlap the first and second colors that I place a little bit. If you pick colors that are happy with each other, then they'll blend without making browns, but if you're already using browns, it's not a big deal. And then I will flip the brush to the other side, and I'll just go into that last color, which was the dark blue, and I'll tap that on the outside 1/3 of my mobile lid. And you can use the width of the brush to help you blend the colors together when you're just tapping them. And again, I chose these colors just so you would easily be able to see the placement for each one as distinct. So compare this side to this side where we have crease work done, no crease work done. Okay? Okay, so now what I did is I took my fluffy crease brush, which is this looking guy, and I took a matte color. All the ones so far on my eyelids have a little bit of shimmer to them. Then I take this mid-tone color here, and I get it on my brush, and I will start sort of between 2 and 3 is usually where I start, like colors 1, 2, 3. I usually start right between 2 and 3, blend, blend, blend here, and then I drag it in toward color number 1 after I've deposited a little bit more of the color. And again, this is maybe like a 3 in terms of pressure. You definitely want to keep it light. And I'm just buffing that area, meaning I'm doing both windshield wiper movements and very short, maybe micro circles even, to apply that. That's my transitional color there. You could stop there, but I'm going to go into this dark purple on just the tip of my brush, and I'm going to go only over colors 2 and 3, primarily targeting color number 2. Sorry, excuse me, color number 3 in the outside corner. Staying right in the crease, seeing how now I'm not taking it up and blending it toward my brow bone, I'm just staying in that crease area. Okay, you want to try and match depth on each side. I'm going to use a regular mirror to look and see how we're doing. It doesn't look too bad. I'm going to add just a little bit more of that dark purple. And again, I don't go in all the way to the yellow with that darkest color that I'm blending with. I'll take the same makeup wipe and I'm just going to clean up the edge here and any fallout. meaning color that travels down below where you want it to, just because of the powderiness of the eyeshadow. And there you go. That's an eyeshadow look I would normally do that has 5 colors in it. I'm going to now show you, all I used was 3 brushes. This brush I used to blend out the concealer as my base. This color I used for packing on all of the colors on my mobile lid, and then this brush I used for putting the eyeshadows in my crease. I'm going to just put on a quick coat of mascara so you can see what this would look like. And then I'm going to repeat this same process with neutral eyeshadows. So for those of you who get the placement, I can show you what this would look like with a neutral color palette, which would probably be more of what you folks at home are actually wearing out of your house. Show you how it looks. Okay, so here's this just with a bit of mascara. Okay, I like this. This to me, I would wear this out because I do like colorful eyeshadows, but if you don't, I'm about to show you what this would look like with a neutral color scheme. Oh, sorry, that was loud. With a neutral color scheme. So I'm going to go ahead and use, again, the Tartelette and Bloom palette. I would say it's probably my favorite all neutral palette. I think it's a great beginner palette. It has 3 shimmer shades and 9 mattes. 3 shimmers and 9 mattes. It's a 12 shadow palette. It's very user friendly. I find the shadows are very easy to work with. And yeah, let me show you how I would do a full 5 shadow look with a neutral color palette. I'm still going to prime my eyelids in the same way using the ColourPop No Filter concealer so that you can, again, compare more like apples to apples. And I'm going to use, again, those same brushes. And I only use 3. So let's see where we're at. My eyelids are getting a little stained and they're also feeling a little bit raw. So, all right, let's go through it. So here is the brush that I would use to blend out the concealer on my eyelids, covering the entire thing. Oh my gosh, this palette, I love using it as a mirror too because the there's a gentle cocoa vanilla scent to it, which I like a lot. It's not overpowering, it doesn't give me a headache, it just smells kind of yummy, in my opinion. Smell it before you buy it if you are sensitive to fragrance. Check the ingredients. But again, I really like this palette. I recommend it to a lot of people who are just looking for something basic to use to do eyeshadow on an everyday basis, who aren't makeup enthusiasts or collectors. Although I'm a makeup enthusiast and a collector, and I still love this palette. So, the smell definitely gives it a little something something for making it stand out. So my eyelids are completely primed. I have this item here. This is a color switch, and basically what it does, it's like a hair bun mold, and you just swipe your brush around in there so that you can clean off the pigmentation from previous eyeshadows without having to actually fully clean your brushes. So it's a nice way if you're just quickly getting ready. You could use a hair donut or you could use something like this. It's maybe $10 or $14. But if you don't want to use that, use a washcloth, use a sock, use your pants, use whatever you feel comfortable using. So I'm going to show you the same kind of thing with these eyeshadows here. I'm going to use for location number 1, I'm going to use this color Funny Girl, which is the lightest shimmery shade. And I take that on the inside third of my eyelid using the same brush. And I'm going to tappy, 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 make my eyeshadow happy. I guess I could use my mirror in here. You can build these up for more opacity, or you can leave them more sheer, depending on your preference. So there's the placement of my first color. The second one I'm going to use is this color called Firecracker, which is also shimmery, but a little bit deeper in tone. And I'm going to apply that to the center of my lid. I do like using shimmer shadows, but I could show you, if you're interested, how to use all matte shadows to make a beautiful look as well. There's Firecracker. These are all neutral tones. They're not going to blend together weird or look funky in any other way. And then lastly, I'm going to take the more dark shimmery color, which is this one called Rocker, and I'm going to put that where I previously put the blue on my last look, which is the outside third. Just using short little tapping motions to pack that on. And I'm going to do that on the other side as well. Okay, for my crease, just like last time, I picked more of a mid-tone color. I'm going to show you this time with the color Sweetheart, which is this matte color right here. And I'm going to get a bunch on my brush, and I'm going to take it all the way through my crease. And I start out here, and I build up more, and then I'll drag it all the way in above that first color that we applied, covering my entire crease. This brush is fluffy, so the top bristles are touching here, and the lower bristles are touching a little bit over top of those shimmer shades. So you can see this helps to blend out the edges and also make it look a little bit less segmented. So I'm going to do the same thing on my left eye. I keep the center of the bristles, the center of the brush, right directly over that crease where my eye fold is. And I look straight ahead. Okay, you could absolutely stop there if you wished, but I'm not going to because I do not wish. I'm going to use my fifth color here as this guy right here. This, if you prefer not to use something quite as dark, you could go for this one, which is called Rebel. I like that one too. And again, I'm just going to use the tippy tip of the brush, and I'm going to go mostly over the second and third colors, so outside 2/3 of my crease. Again, keeping the center of the brush right over the crease. And this time I'm not going to take it all the way in toward the center of my eyelid where my nose is. I'm going to concentrate it mostly over the outside 2/3. Okay, so comparing the two, I've just built a little bit more depth here than I have here. And do the same thing. Looking down into your mirror again is just going to help you to not have to close your eyes to apply, and you can still see both eyes at the same time, so you can compare pigmentation to make sure that you've built the same amount of depth on each. And that would be, for me, a 5 eyeshadow, still pretty quick look. I'm going to do the same thing as I did last time, which is I'm going to take my makeup wipe and just clean up under my eyes and this outside corner going up here. This is one of the benefits of doing your face makeup after you put on your eyeshadow. And that would be that for putting on my eyeshadows. Now I'm just going to put on a quick coat of mascara so that you can see what this would look like as a quote-unquote finished eyeshadow look. You can see that the colors certainly are blending together more than they did. Oh, man, I keep getting that mascara going up too high. But that's fine, right? The colors are definitely blending together more because it's a more neutral color palette and they're all very similar in tone and intensity. So if earlier when I was showing you placement with the pink, yellow, blue, and so on, you thought it was too stark, now you can see that the colors really seamlessly blend together if you use a neutral color palette, and it's far less jarring. But I hope that did show you specifically where I do my placements. Again, I use the identical technique for each. And so this would be my final eye look. So apart from the fact that my mascara is now clumping unattractively because I have multiple layers of mascara that haven't been all the way worn off, you can see that this is a more, I'm going to go ahead and take my fluffy brush and just see if I can skeeve off that little bit of mascara, or at least minimize the look of it. Get out of here, get out of here. I think most people would agree that this is pretty wearable if you wore this to work or to school. I don't think that this would be inappropriate in any way. I don't think this is too much makeup, but it is 5 eyeshadows, and I think the blending just looks nice. It looks professional. Here's how I would add just a couple more colors to like complete this look. I'll use the same tip I did last time, but I'll use a matte color instead of a shimmer color, which is I will take this light bright white matte color and I will take it on my pinky and I tap it right here in my inner corner. You can use the shimmery shade there as well. I use shimmery or matte colors. I tend to use more shimmery ones, but since my lid is all shimmer, I'll show you it with a nice matte white color here. And that will just bring a little bit of brightness to your inner corners. And I will take that same packing brush and I'll pick like a more mid-tone or darker color. In this case, I'll take this one called Firecracker, and I'll just get a little bit on the end of the brush. I'll take it to my outside lower lash line and I'll just smudge a little bit, again keeping to the outer 2/3. I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. I take it all the way to my lashes and I don't come down, see like this second crease here, my under eye lines, I don't go below that, and now it's just a little bit more defined. And I would also consider taking this Funny Girl, this light shimmery color, and doing it on the inside 1/3 of my lower lash line, right here. Very lightly. Now the pressure level is like a 1, just super, super lightly. And that would be, for me, a complete eye look. My maximum eyeshadows that I've put on my eyelids at one time, including upper lid and lower lid, is 18. And I still think as long as you blend your colors, it does not look too crazy. But again, my comfort with crazy makeup is certainly different than most people. But yeah, I hope this sort of explained to you what I do in terms of placement and how I use more eyeshadows, but the look is still not overwhelming. If you wanted to jump from 3 eyeshadows where you just do lid, crease, and outside corner, making this jump would be, you could just put 2 eyeshadows on your lid instead of one on the inside half, one on the outside half, and then do your crease the same way. That would be fine too, and you can play around with this lower lash line as well. So I really hope this was informative. If you have more questions for me about number of eyeshadows, where to put them, send me a picture of your eye shape or describe it to me and see what I would do with that, please let me know. I'd be happy to explain and again, have friends come in and show you tutorials on different eye shapes, different skin tones, etc. But this is, yeah, hopefully this explained to you what the placements look like if you have an eye shape that's similar to mine. Play around with it. Again, it's just makeup. If you have makeup wipes handy and something doesn't work out, just wipe it off, try again. And again, these brushes that I used, I only used 2 or 3 brushes. I could have very easily put on all of the shimmer shades with my fingers and only used a fluffy brush for my crease. And I also could have tapped out my concealer on my eyelids as a primer with just my fingers. Hope you liked this. Hope it was helpful. Hope you learned a little bit. Again, would love to hear back from you and answer any questions that you have. And now I'm going to take this off and actually do my makeup for my personal enjoyment, which means I'm probably going to use like 8 shadows and a topper and go all kinds of crazy. I'm Alycia. You're lovely. I hope you're having an amazing day, night, week, month, skin day. I hope you're having a good hair day. And if you're not, that's okay. You know, life isn't perfect all the time, and that's all right. Do just a little something that you enjoy, and, you know, smile if you feel like it. Don't smile if you don't want to. Okay, I feel weird now. Bye!